Now let's go ahead and talk about editable polys in 3ds Max and its sub-object components and how to edit them. So I'm picking up where I left off in the last video. I have the same exact scene, same setup here. What I'm going to do is go over here to the modifier stack. I'm going to select the Edit Poly modifier and just hit this little trash can icon down here to get rid of it. What I'm going to do is right click and go to Convert To, and I'm going to convert this box here to an editable poly. Okay, so let me expand this just so you can see the different subcomponents here while you get used to it. Okay, so let's talk about these sub-objects, or components as I like to call them. These components make up the entire polygonal object. Vertices are where all of these edges connect. You can see them here in blue dots. And we can actually select these vertices and we can edit them. We can grab a set of vertices, we can move them, we can rotate them, and we can even go ahead and scale them. And any edit we make is going to go ahead and modify and change the shape of the object. We can also take edges. So let's select some edges here and we can move those around as well. We can rotate them and scale them. We can also take the borders. And right now, if I try to select borders, I won't be able to, and I'll show you why in a bit. If we go to polygon mode, we can select some polygons here and we can move them around. And the polygons are the actual faces that make up the object here. As you can see, these different square polygons or whatever shape polygons that you have. Okay? If I go to element mode, what it's going to do is select an entire element or an entire set of contiguous polygons. Basically polygons that are welded and stuck together. And we're going to see more about that a little bit later. Now if I take a few of these polygons here and I hit delete on the keyboard to get rid of them, I'm going to end up with a hole in the object, as you can see. Okay? Now if I go to border mode here, I can actually select the border of that hole just by clicking any edge that's located where that hole is. And you can see 3ds Max will highlight the border of that hole in my polygonal object here, my editable poly object. So that's why border can come in pretty useful. Okay, so let me hit undo a couple of times to undo that hole. Okay, now up here in these in the main tools up here, you're going to notice we have this keyboard shortcut override toggle button right here, and it's turned on by default. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. If I turn that on, what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and turn on more keyboard shortcuts that I really don't need, and they're actually going to get in the way of my work. So for example, when I'm in subcomponent mode here for this object, I can hit the 1 key on the keyboard to select vertices. I can hit 2 to select edges. I can hit 3 on the keyboard to select borders. 4 is the shortcut for polygons, and 5 is the shortcut for elements. Now if I were to hit, say, 2 for edges and I hit 2 again, nothing happens. If I turn off the shortcut override toggle button up there, now I can hit 2 to go into edge mode, and then I can hit 2 to go back into selection mode. Me, I prefer this this keyboard shortcut layout. You might not. It depends on what your preference is, but I prefer this keyboard shortcut layout. So you'll notice that I usually have this keyboard override toggle turned off. Okay, but it's really up to you and what you like. Now the two traditional ways of editing these components or these sub-objects in 3ds Max is to go ahead and select some. For example, let's select, I don't know, let's just select some polygons over here on the side of this object. We'll just select those polygons there. Okay. If I go ahead and right click with those polygons selected, I'll open up the quad menu, and the quad menu is context sensitive, meaning that it changes and updates based on what you're doing. So if you're working with an editable poly and you're in polygon mode, you have some polygons selected. When you open up the quad menu, you're going to get these tools like bevel, extrude, insert vertex. You can create new polygons. You can do an inset, outline, hinge from edge. You get a lot of the most common tools. Now, all the tools in 3ds Max are not located in the quad menu. This is the default quad menu, and basically it has only a few tools, not your entire tool set, just a few of the most common ones that you probably will be using while doing polygon modeling. So if you want to extrude, for example, you can select extrude and go ahead and extrude those polygons, extrude them again and again. And then right click to go out of extrude mode. I'm going to hit Control Z to go back a few times. Okay. Now, if you want access to all the tools for modeling here, traditionally what you would do is you would go to the command panel and scroll down, and you can see we have this Edit Polygons rollout right here, and we have all our tools here. We have the bridge tool, bevel, extrude, we can insert vertex, outline, inset, we can flip polygons, hinge from edge, we can retriangulate, we can turn, we can do a lot of different things. Then down here we have edit geometry, where we can create, collapse, we can attach or detach, we can slice, we can do a cut, we can do mesh smooth, we can do a lot of different things. Okay, so those are the two traditional ways of editing. You can go to the quad menu and quickly get a tool. If it's not there for you, you can go here to the command panel and go to one of these rollouts and select the tool you need there. However, in 3ds Max 2010, there's a new third way of editing objects, and it's actually extremely good. Okay, it's the graphite modeling tools that I mentioned earlier in a previous video. And you notice that they're located right here in this new area of the interface, and it's called graphite modeling tools. Okay, so we have on the top here 3 menu items. We have graphite modeling tools, we have freeform, and we have selection. Okay, and then as we select one of these categories, we have a new set of tools down here. And as we hover our mouse, we don't even have to click, just hover the mouse over one of these different tool menus, and this little pop-up window drops down to show you all the tools that are available. And you can see that there are a lot of tools. I'm not going to go over every single one at this moment, but we're going to be using a lot of these tools for the next few hours as we create a complex scene here in 3ds Max 2010 using just polygons and editable poly objects. The graphite modeling tools are context sensitive, meaning that depending on what subcomponent you have selected, say if you have vertices selected, you notice that the menus update. If you look at these menus for vertices, loops, subdivisions, and so on, as I switch from vertex to edges, you'll get a new menu just for edges, and you get yourself tools specifically for edges. If I switch to border, same thing, polygon, now I have polygon tools. I can do triangulation and use these different extrude, bevel, and bridge tools and things like that. If you hover your mouse over one of these tools, you'll get yourself a nice help tooltip with a drop-down window that shows you a quick illustration of what the tool does. And you can see there's lots of tools, and if we go to freeform, we get a lot more tools here. We can do paint deformation, we can use poly draw. So let's actually do that. Let me go to vertex mode. Let me deselect all these vertices here. I'm going to go to paint deform, and let's go to pinch spread. So I'll go ahead and click on that. Now you notice I get this mouse cursor here. If I go ahead and I start using the left mouse button here, I can actually pinch some of these vertices together. So it's a very organic sort of freeform way of working, and hence why the name of that category is freeform. So you can see how I can do that. I can also do a few other things. I can go to selection, and I can use a whole bunch of different selection tools here. So let me go to edge mode here by hitting 2 on the keyboard. I'll go back to loop, turn loop mode on, and I can select different loops of edges here, as you can see, and I'll select them all the way around. So you can see how it's an extremely useful set of tools, and there's so many tools here for us to use. As you can see, every one of these menu items has tons and tons of different tools to use, and we're going to be using a lot of these tools while we work on our polygon modeling object, so it's extremely useful. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to end it here, and in the next video we're going to talk about modifiers and the modifier stack, how it works in 3ds Max, and what it means to your polygon modeling.